Hello and welcome to the News9 Plus show on the world's first news and current affairs OTT platform, News9 Plus. Israeli strikes in Beirut overnight targeted Hashim Safieddine, the successor to late Hezbollah chief Hassan Nasrallah. It's unclear if Safieddine was killed in the strikes. But last Friday, on the 27th of September, Israel had assassinated the Hezbollah leader Hassan Nasrallah in an unprecedented airstrike that used 80 tons of explosives. Not just the top leader, but 7 high-ranking commanders and officials of Hezbollah were killed too. In fact, Lebanon has been witnessing relentless Israeli airstrikes since the 16th of September, as Israel's bombing and cross-border ground incursions into Lebanon continue. The myth of Hezbollah, once the world's largest non-state actor, lies shattered. Severe blows to Hezbollah, in which it has lost key members, its entire leadership who've been part of this group since its establishment in the 80s, have fractured the group. It's plunged the group into unprecedented chaos. So is this the end of Hezbollah, Iran's proxy actor in West Asia? Joining me to discuss this are Ambassador Suresh K Goel, former Indian diplomat, Lieutenant General Sanjay Kulkarni, former DG-Infantry, Indian Army, Dr. Prem Anand Mishra, Middle Eastern expert and former faculty of the Nelson Mandela Center for Peace and Conflict Resolution at the Jamia Millia Islamia University, and reporting for us from the ground from Lebanon, on ground zero, is my colleague Sumit Chaudhury of TV9 Bharatvarsh. In the studio, I have with me my colleague Deepak Bhadana. General Kulkarni, I want to start by asking you this. You know, we've seen unprecedented Israeli airstrikes on Lebanon, especially targeting Hezbollah. And there's this new phrase that we are being told, which is HVT, high value targeting. Given the state of Hezbollah's leadership, they've been literally decapitated. The successor to Hassan Nasrallah has been targeted as well. We are not sure if he's dead or alive. But given this volume of Israeli firepower that's been brought on Hezbollah, is it safe to assume Hezbollah is no longer the threat that it once was just 2 weeks ago?
Sandeep, I would say that it is not destroyed, but yes, it has been curtailed to a sizable amount. The leadership has almost dissipated, though, of course, the top leadership.
Yes.
You know, in this kind of I would say, an organization which is a terrorist organization that has also political, leanings and political hold over Lebanon, has to a large extent these fighters of theirs. So you have a Lebanese army,
yes,
and you have almost 50,000 to maybe a lakh plus fighters.
Yeah.
You have those rockets to yourself, and then you have those drones, you have tanks, you have artillery,
yes,
all of it. And so does the Lebanese army, which is in fact much less in I would say in the equipment and armament than
yes,
what Hezbollah is.
Than
in
Hezbollah.
That context, yes, yeah. In that context, I think Hezbollah seems to have lost its sheen. It
yes,
has certainly feeling the vacuum felt in the leadership, because all this requires coordination.
yes,
The communication is not there. The coordination by the leaders who are in the chair for
right,
last 30, 32 years, motivating them, prodding them,
yes,
sort of making them feel fight against the Israelis. All that has gone, because after all, war is all about man and the
right,
leadership,
yes,
motivation, self-discipline. All of it seems to have just disappeared.
all of it has disappeared,
right?
General Kulkarni, and I'm going to take that point to Sumit Chaudhury, my colleague who's on ground zero in Lebanon at this moment. Sumit, tell us what the situation is like now. 200 airstrikes on Hezbollah in the last couple of hours by the Israeli Air Force. I see you there in Beirut. Tell us whether Hezbollah can recover from these deadly blows over the last few days.
Sandeep, first of all, I just want to show you right behind me is the whole Beirut. You can see
yes,
aerial view of the Beirut, and that is the main airport from which
yes,
all the flights, international flights, have been coming and going to the different parts of world, not to different parts of world. So this is the condition right now. From morning there is no access strike, but yes, from last 24 hours, Sandeep, there is a continuous strike from the Israeli airports. They have been targeting with the F-35, F-16, and they are also using the drone drones to target the main locations of Hezbollah. From last 24 hours, Hezbollah have been into the very massive attack from the Israel. And when we go to the ground, when we talk to the Hezbollah commanders, Hezbollah's the OGWs, they clearly mentioning that right now their main focus is not only to save the Dahya, but also
Yes.
to move to the southern part of Lebanon, so that the ground forces of Israel have to be stopped. They have to be stuck to some particular location so that they can't move advances
Right.
to the Beirut. So this is the main focus of Hezbollah right now. And when you talk about what is exactly the top commanders is doing right now, so they have a very challenging time right now, because they not only need to save the border areas, but also need to save the top commanders, because Israel, on the basis of surveillance, on the basis of intelligence, continuously targeting the Dahya area, which is the epicenter, or you can say a main command and control center of Hezbollah, and that is in the continuous attack from the Israeli side.
Right.
Sandeep.
Sumit, we've heard that there was a massive airstrike last night targeting Hashem Safieddine, the replacement of Hassan Nasrallah. What do we know so far? Has that strike been confirmed? Is Safieddine, has he issued a statement? What is his present status?
So, Sandeep, I was there when last night the strikes happened, and after 2-3 hours, I was present there where the Hashim Safadin was attacked, as claimed by the Israeli side that he was present in that particular building. I was there only. I have done a reportage from there, and one thing I can clearly mentioning you: if Hashim Safieddine was there in the building, I think the possibilities are very high that he is not going to survive. But Hezbollah is not accepting it. Hezbollah is saying that he was not present there, although Israel is claiming that he was there in the building. But the exact picture will come out after some time. But what is more important, because when I was there at that particular location, the same time Israel has been targeting the other locations also. So Israel is very clear in that. Whenever they find any intelligence, any surveillance about regarding the top commanders and the upcoming top commanders, they will try and attack all those locations. And Sandeep, when I'm talking to you right now, I can hear the voices of drones, which is surrounding all these areas. So that is the surveillance which we have been facing, or we have been accessing, because continuously Israel the fighter aircrafts and the drones have been surveillance in all these areas. Their ground surveillance, their ground intelligence, and the aerial surveillance is continuously in this particular area.
Right, absolutely.
Sandeep.
Thank you for the update, Sumit. We'll keep coming back to you for news and updates from ground zero in Lebanon as you cover this war. And my advice to you, Sumit, is once again, stay safe. Take all necessary precautions while you're reporting, bringing us the news live from Beirut. But, Ambassador Goel, I want to ask you this point that Sumit just made. The fact that Israel is literally going in for the kill. They want to eliminate Hezbollah as a threat. I don't think we've seen this level of air-to-ground bombardment even in 2006, the last time that Israel fought Hezbollah. What is the end game going to be if the Hezbollah is severely weakened, if it's unable to do what the Iranians want them to do? How does this impact on Iranian strategy in West Asia?
If I recall correctly, Israel had already declared that their objective in the region is to essentially finish off all these organizations, Hamas, Hezbollah, etc., etc.
Yes.
And I think essentially the thought behind all this is that whatever threat that existed to Israel in the past few decades should not exist anymore.
Right.
Now, I really don't know whether that's a realistic kind of an ambition or not. That given the political situation in the area, and that political situation is not of yesterday or of making of even a decade. It's a historical thing. It's basically the contest for existence, desire for existence of different communities, different people in the same land and finding a niche for themselves in the same area. And that is not going to happen till they begin to accept each other. And that is not happening at all. And therefore, I don't think that this war is going to, and maybe there will be a lull. I think it was yesterday somewhere, again on a discussion where I mentioned
Yes.
that we have a mix of different ethnicities and contest for existence, etc. And they all want to basically see that the land belongs to them.
Right.
And there was an article which I was reading that the desire for peace has become essentially a fight for surrender.
Right.
They want the other parties to surrender.
Yes.
Now they can't exist like this. And in the same context, I remember that when I was there in the area, I was in Egypt at that time of the Shah's DFS,
Right.
and I had gone to visit Gaza at that time, and I was then in Jerusalem, Al-Aqsa Mosque, and it was a Good Friday, and on the same main square of Jerusalem,
Yes.
I saw these three processions coming face to face, one returning from the Wailing Wall, one returning from Al-Aqsa after the Friday prayers, the other coming from the Church of Sepulchre after the day of Good Friday. And the kind of hatred, anger, the three processions had for each other.
Right.
Because all three claim Jerusalem as their land.
Yes. That's right.
And they are not prepared to share it with each other.
They are not, indeed.
And so that is the problem. That they have
it's
to learn to share.
That you actually hit the nail on the head, Ambassador Goel, taking us back to where it all began, which is the root of this entire hatred. And indeed, it's the root of understanding this present Iranian hatred for Israel. I mean, a war of the kind that we have possibly not seen anywhere, which is two countries thousands of kilometers apart, and literally at each other's throats. They have no territorial disputes. They don't share a boundary, but they're fighting through proxy actors. And now it looks like the war is now increasingly becoming a direct confrontation, which is why the rest of the world is really upset and worried indeed. But Dr. Prem Anand Mishra, you've been listening to our esteemed guests, the point that they've made on the fact that Hezbollah is literally on its last legs. Sumit says they've been under heavy bombardment over the last couple of days. The successor to Hassan Nasrallah's whereabouts are unknown as we speak. What is going to become of Hezbollah now? Will Iran be looking for another proxy to replace it with?
Look, this is too early to call that Hezbollah is over and his days are over. I think it's just that it's really dented a lot. I mean, their capabilities, which they call Jihad Council, the top leadership, that is really dented comprehensively. But they have their reserve forces, they have their supply chain, they have their so many other franchises through which they get the support from, and it's not just about that in southern Lebanon. Now they are also now trying to now use this strategy to use Maronite villages to attack Israel.
Yes.
On the side of, if you see that Iranian side, look, Iran understands that this is a war of attrition in one sense, and secondly, ultimate end game of Israel is the change of regime in Iran.
Yes.
And directly going into the war with Israel, basically bringing United States, which is looking somewhere that Iranian regime needs to be changed.
Yes.
So, they are somehow trying to get frustrated with that, what should do and not to do. So they're trying to open the diplomatic channels. The Prime Minister, Iranian Prime Minister, President is meeting with the many foreign ministers in Qatar. They're trying to do wait and watch condition in American presidential election. But I think that, neither the Hezbollah is ending here, nor the Iran would stop here.
Yes.
Because see, it's not just about the one issue or the two issues. It's about existing. For Israel, Iran's presence is existential threat.
Yes.
And the next course of action, the kind of, maybe on 7th October, there is a possibility that Israel might attack. And the first attack would be the infrastructures, the air infrastructure bases from where these ballistic missile, 180 ballistic missiles or hypersonic missiles were fired.
Yes.
And the next course would be the nuclear infrastructure, which is the real game that Israeli wants to destroy. So that Iran, in nowhere that it is capable to achieve certain level of nuclear capabilities, that would be existential threat for Israel. But short is Hezbollah would remain intact because their chain of commands are like that. It's just an Israeli claim. Even for instance, if that Safieddine is dead, they have that communication and the capabilities that to survive stockpiles and everything. So I don't think so that it's dented hugely. And
Yes.
for Israel to go into that, particularly the southern part, through excursions, but it's difficult. You know that in the very first excursion they lost nine casualties.
Yes,
So
that's right.
it's a kind of a snowball. There's a lot of things to be, going to happen. It's just wait and watch.
Wait and
Thanks.
watch. Hezbollah is down but not out. And in fact, that word that you mentioned, snowball, I'm going to ask General Kulkarni about this. General Kulkarni, when I was in Israel last week, one thought that we heard constantly was the fact that snow would start falling in November in around that region of southern Lebanon, which obviously means that the military would have trouble advancing. Give us your sense as a military analyst, how snowfall, how winter impacts on advances on the ground. Given the fact that there are 2 Israeli divisions we're given to understand that are already crossed the blue line and they're already operating in southern Lebanon. General Kulkarni, your thoughts?
Yeah. Sandeep, before I say that, I'll say that right now, presently, Iran is demoralized. Hezbollah is dented but not destroyed. And what you asked is Operation Barbarossa.
Yes.
We know what happened. The Germans advanced in Russia. Subsequently, because of winter, it is Mr. Winter that creates all the problems.
Yes.
But of course, the land in Lebanon, especially southern Lebanon, is not as flat and plain as Gaza is. It's undulating. And therefore, armor formations find it difficult. Even artillery on wheels would find it difficult to move in. But the buffer that Israel is looking for is just about 27, only up to the Litani River. Beyond the Litani River, the firing which now Israelis have resorted to is primarily to make sure that at least their advance up to the Litani River from the blue line is easier. That is why the softening of targets is going on. And until and unless Israel softens the target, the ground invasion, which must finish, if it all is decided, must be done in October itself. Once they're finalized in October, then in conjunction with UNIFIL, which is already over there, and UNIFIL also has about 11,000 people over there. Hezbollah, which has now gone in tunnels and things of those kinds, the entire area is deserted because there were about 2 million people over there. All of them have left. There's nothing left over there. So, so virtually a plain barren land with UNIFIL over there. There and intelligence of the Israelis there. But yes, Hezbollah deeply entrenched, and that is why you found yesterday that Israelis got ambushed. That ambush was even in a village which they were absolutely cocksure that nothing would happen to them. But the classic ambush in which Israelis lost about 8 soldiers, that was sad. And obviously that gave Israel a real big setback. And that is why what you're referring to snowballing. So why get into that situation? Why, if it can be done now in the month of October, and maybe maximum is, I would say 15th of November. But after that, it will get difficult. And once you're in that situation, then it's not good. And then you will find, but of course, Hezbollah is dented. There is no denying the fact that Hezbollah is dented. That 1.5 lakh of rockets that you talk about, I don't think they're firing at that rate. Because this was the time they should have actually done it. They haven't done it. That means that 1.5 lakhs probably are there, but they have not been able to link them, or maybe the projectiles are not there, or the firing mechanism are at some other places. So they have not been able to actually get them all. And that airstrike has led to, I would say, Hezbollah suffering a lot. And what you said about Safieddine, I hope he knows, he is married to Soleimani's daughter, who was knocked up in 2020. So that's the connection why they want Safieddine also to be knocked up after.
Absolutely. So this is General Kulkarni on the window of opportunity for the Israeli ground invasion into South Lebanon. That seems to be very limited indeed, about a month and a half, after which winter sets in. General winter runs the course of the battle. But Deepak, back to your original theory of 1979 being one of the most influential years in world history, possibly of the 20th century. All of this began there in 1979. Is this the most important year post the Second World War? Or is 1991, the end of the Cold War, more important?
But has the Cold War really ended?
Good question. Has the Cold War really ended? It hasn't indeed.
It hasn't. I mean, the same proponents of both sides, they
are
stand
on both sides, and this time you have Russia and China on the same page here.
They were still there.
Absolutely, and China was the third party which wasn't taking sides back then in the pre-1991 Cold War. But you are looking at a new Cold War possibly the Russia, China, and Iran on one side, and the Western world on the other, and countries like India, part of the global south, in the center. But we were talking about the end of Hezbollah here on our 9 p.m. show. We just heard it from the experts, how Hezbollah is under heavy bombardment. Sumit Chaudhury, reporting from Ground Zero, told you how it's unprecedented, the kind of bombing that he's personally witnessed. But it looks like, from all accounts, Hezbollah is down, but it's not out. It is a tremendous force in being, as they say, because it draws its strength from the indigenous communities, Deepak, of the Shia population of southern Lebanon. And that is, of course, going to be a constant thorn in the side of Israel's flesh across the Litani River, which is where they want Hezbollah to retreat to. That's a story we'll keep following in the days ahead. One can only hope better sense prevails. But thank you very much, General Kulkarni, Dr. Goel, Dr. Prem Anand, and my colleague Deepak Bhadana for joining us on the News9 Plus show.